Yo, what's up, guys? We're back. We're going to be doing another breakdown predictions video, and I'm going to be giving you guys a PFL first round week 3 video. And last week for PFL, we killed it, man. We hit a couple big underdogs. We made some good money on Patreon, so wanted to come over and give you guys a video before the show tomorrow. I know it's kind of up against it, but PFL, man, they do a lot of switching of their fights and stuff like that, and I just wanted to make sure that this was going to be the fight card that was going to go down. And man, I mean, there still could be a lot of switch ups at the weigh-ins tomorrow. It seems like PFL has been going through it with that, but hopefully this is the fight card that is going to be going on tomorrow. And just right before we get started, man, hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. Put a comment down below. Let's try to get 10 comments on this video. Even if you're just commenting, thanks for the video or anything, it helps the algorithm, and I would really appreciate you guys if you put some comments on this video, man, and just hit the like button. If you want access to actual bets that I do got for this card, and I do have a bet on LFA right now as well, a big underdog bet for that card. So if you want access to that, patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. The link is going to be in the description. But let's get into this first fight, and it's a short notice fight. Robert Watley versus Tony Caruso. Probably the fight I looked into kind of the least because Caruso jumped in on really short notice. He had a chance to get into the PFL in 2023, but he lost on the Challenger Series. And he went back and he's fought a couple of fights in smaller promotions since then. He went 2-0. He just recently had a boxing match March 14th, and he also was getting ready to fight May 22nd. So he should be somewhat in shape, but Robert Watley, 15-3. He's fought for a lot of major promotions. He won the belt. He defended the belt in the LFA. He actually vacated it to join PFL in 2018 and went 1-2 in his first PFL stint. It really wasn't a great run for him, but took time off, came back in 2023, hit the ground running. His first fight back was a CFFC title fight. He won that fight, defended the belt twice, and now he's back on a 4-fight winning streak, and he's looking to come back into PFL and prevail this time. And this matchup, I just feel like it's probably a fairly easy matchup for Watley. Watley just needs to be himself out there. I mean, on the feet, he's evasive, he's sharp, he's good at not allowing himself to get backed up, and then using his speed to land pot shots, working his leg kicks, timing some takedowns. And I feel like he's going to be able to take Caruso down here. I feel like he's going to be better on the feet. Caruso's kind of like a decent all-rounder, but just not super impressed with him, especially on short notice. I feel like he hasn't proven he can beat someone in the level of Robert Watley, so don't got a huge, great breakdown for this fight, but I am leaning towards Robert Watley there, and I think he's probably going to win a decision. But second fight of the night here, we got Aaron Jeffrey taking on Murad Ramazanov in a pretty decent fight. I feel like both these guys for, PFL level are pretty good. And, Jeffrey, he's a known name from Bellator. He is coming off the biggest victory of his career in his last fight as well, where he took out Douglas Lima. So he has some good momentum entering the tournament. And for Ramazanov, he's coming off 2 losses in a row here. He had the displeasure of fighting Shamil Musayev back-to-back times and got knocked out once, lost by decision once, and now he's looking to get back in the win column. But he's moving from 170 to 185, so he is going to be the smaller guy coming in here. It's kind of hard to know where his confidence level is at as well after just losing back-to-back times. But he has a difficult style to beat. I mean, he's athletic, he's explosive, he's strong, he has good footwork, bounces in and out of range well, and he's primarily looking to just use his footwork to draw the offense from his opponent and then time the single leg, and he'll use the single leg to get you to the fence, double leg you, body lock you, and his level changes are lightning. He's super fast level changes. He can be relentless with the takedown attempts, and on top he's a mauler. He has decent ground and pound, he has some alright chokes. His conditioning, I would say, is kind of average, but it's good enough. If you do push him, he can accept the stand-up a little bit more, and he is vulnerable because he will pull back in straight lines on the feet. He doesn't really have a ton of effective offense in the stand-up either. And his last 2 fights, he had his wrestling shut down for the most part. He took a hellacious left hook in his knockout loss to Musayev, but he has a good chin and he made some adjustments to at least go all 15 minutes in his second fight. He got a few takedowns in the second fight also, but just didn't do much with them. Kind of ended up breaking a bit and got out wrestled himself, which wasn't a great look, but he just was fighting a guy that was better than him. And Aaron Jeffrey, durable, he brings the pressure, he has power. He wants to get on the inside, push you against the fence, dirty box you. He's gotten an edge to him lately, and he's been a little bit more aggressive and dangerous, and that's good to see because a lot of times in the past he let guys that he probably could have finished hang on to decisions. But on top, Jeffrey's good, and he's not really the best wrestler, but when he can kind of get you to the ground, he's solid from that position. Takedown defense is a little bit suspect, but he will get back up to his feet pretty well. Eventually start stuffing shots, getting you tired. And this fight's going to be difficult, if you ask me, for him to stuff, though. I mean, he's really not someone who has long-range striking. His last fight, he fought Doug Lima, who historically has subpar wrestling defense, is older, and he was able to use a smart game plan of grinding him out, but that's not going to happen here versus Ramazanov. And the advantage he has here, Jeffrey, is size, power, and cardio. He's fighting a wrestler who isn't that dangerous on the feet. He's moving up in weight, so if you can make it hard for Ramazanov to take him down or even get on top himself, maybe he can dominate Ramazanov. But the wrestling of Ramazanov poses a matchup problem for Jeffrey. Even with all the variables with Ramazanov losing and moving up, I just see him being able to get the takedowns in at least 2 rounds here and winning a decision. So my pick is going to be Murad Ramazanov here to use his wrestling and get the job done in that fight. But moving it along, we got Brent Primus versus Vinicius Sensi. And with this fight, I feel like this is a pretty easy fight for Primus. Another short notice matchup here. I actually was going to bet on Brent Primus in his original fight, but his opponent pulled out. And it wasn't Brent Primus I was going to bet on. It was Robert Watley, excuse me. But yeah, I feel like Primus, he's actually getting a break here because he was going to fight Alexander Shabley, and Shabley had to pull out. Now he's fighting Vinicius Sensi, who's a Contender Series guy. He lost in the Contender Series, hasn't really beaten anyone, and Primus is a gigantic favorite to get over on him. But Sensi, chance of a lifetime here. He has been kind of a can crusher so far in his career. He, lost his first fight, won 7 in a row against mediocre competition, lost on Contender Series, and then he's came back and won 3 fights in a row since, but 2 of those fights are flagged by Tapology due to potential issues with legitimacy, and they weren't even counted on his record. And then his last fight with UAE Warriors, which is over a year ago, he got the win, and he beat someone who was 10-1-1, so that's a good victory, but it was a split, so could have went either way there. And put up or shut up now for Sensi, and he's being thrown into the deep end of the pool as well. And Vinicius Sensi, style-wise, he's tall, he has long arms, he's wild on the feet, he will throw hard, he is aggressive. He had a good round 1 versus Sam Patterson, he rocked him. He'll stance switch and then explode in with 2 3s, 3 2s. He'll throw some kicks on the outside, he'll try to land some counter knees, but the issue with Sensi is he doesn't really have boxing. He can't really strike moving backwards, and he doesn't feint that well or set up his blitz attacks. He relies on having those long arms and being able to kind of close the distance quick or land from further out than his opponent can. But he has some grappling chops. His last fight, he was facing a guy trying to take him down, and he got controlled against the fence. He got put on his back, but he showed that he can use the cage to get up well. He threatened some submissions. He was able to reverse position. He was attacking a fairly decent guillotine. And versus Sam Patterson, though, you saw him get tired and then put on his back in the second round. And he got put on his back because he shot a takedown from way too far out, got caught in the front headlock position. His opponent was able to circle to the back and choke him out. And Sensi's wrestling, I would say, is subpar offensively and defensively. So I think Primus is going to be able to take him down. And Sensi's conditioning is questionable. I mean, it looked better in his last fight, but he just doesn't have a ton of experience in longer fights. He's been controlled, and certain fights I watched. Like his last fight, he got controlled by someone who wasn't even remotely on Primus's level. So it's just a bad look. And when you look at Brent Primus, I mean, he's made his bones by pressuring fighters to the cage, clinching them, wearing on them, dragging them to the mat. He has excellent top pressure. His back takes are on point. He has good rear naked chokes. And when he gets the back, he's normally not going to lose the position. And even if you can defend, he's able to win the rounds. He should be able to dominate in the grappling realm here. And he's always known to be durable. He's kind of stiff on the feet, but he'll throw hard hooks. He has leg kicks, and he's only been stopped two times in 19 fights, and they were against two absolute beasts. But the majority of the time, Primus, when he's in the cage and getting his hand raised, it's via submission, and I kind of feel like he should submit Sensi here in round 1 or 2. So Brent Primus via submission is the prediction in that fight. And continuing through the card, we got Josh Chavario taking on Mike Shipman in this next one. And, yeah, man, I mean, Chavario, he came into PFL ready to take over the world, but after the first 2 seasons in PFL haven't gone quite as planned, I'm sure he's a little more humbled entering year 3. He dropped back down to 185 for this season, where I think he is at his best. And he came in to PFL. Obviously, he's the son of Conan Silverio, the legendary ATT coach. He was 9-0. He was a 2-division champion in LFA at 185 and 205. And it seemed like when he signed to PFL, he was thinking he was going to get the million. It was going to be easy pickings for him. But he's gotten 6-4 in his 10 fights with the promotion. And even though he's been fighting really good competition, he's looking like he's on the verge of becoming a busted prospect here. And 32 years old, this is a crossroads fight for him. He definitely has a lot of time, especially at 185, 205, but he has to start to prove that he is who people were talking about him being, and that starts with beating Mike Shipman. And Mike Shipman, longtime Bellator veteran, he's been around the top of the division, really stellar record of 17-4, good wins. He's looked good recently too. He went 2-0 in 2024, 2 knockout finishes. He's won 3 straight fights overall. And he's always been a fighter who's more the bridesmaid than the bride, but in this tournament format, he has it all in his hands. If he wins, the big opportunities are guaranteed to come, and for Mike Shipman, that's something that he hasn't had for the majority of his career, so I'm sure he's excited to have his fate in his own hands. But Josh Chavario, he is a all-rounder. I would say he's not really great at anything, but he's competent in all areas. On the feet, he's southpaw. He's fairly fast. He has nice straight lefts. He'll work the left kicks to the body, to the head. He's gotten a couple wins with his kicks, so if he lands, he kicks hard. He's dangerous. On the inside, he has nice knees, fast kicks, punches. Plus, he moves in and out pretty well, but he doesn't really have lateral movement, and that's why he ends up in the clinch in a lot of his fights. If you pressure him, you just have to be ready to evade 1 or 2 attacks coming in, and you can clinch him up. And he is a good grappler, so that's not necessarily the best game plan for most guys, but at 205, he seemed like he was, a little small in certain matchups and get bullied around in the clinch and get taken down. And he's a little bit hittable, too. Decent head movement, but you can land on him. And I would say he has decent timing on his level changes. He has pretty good top control, but he just isn't a great wrestler. And usually fighters almost have to give him the takedowns. His takedown defenses, get-ups, I would say, aren't bad, but he has to avoid Shipman backing him up so much here, because if he can't hold his ground or pressure himself, I don't really see him being able to keep his back off the fence. I think Shipman can clinch him and maybe even eventually just to wear him down and hit takedowns later on in the fight. I don't know exactly how Severio's cardio is going to look at 185 either, if this is a high-paced fight. But Shipman, evasive on the feet. He's bladed, narrow stance, good lateral footwork, which I think is going to be effective here. And he has some power in his hands, but his striking is a means to an end. It's a little sloppy. He'll kind of move laterally and then just try to blitz in with some fast attacks or some switch stance attacks or a crazy kick. He has good control in the clinch and kind of will hold fighters against the fence, and his wrestling is decent. He's big, he's strong for the weight division, but in this fight, he's gonna have a you know, I feel like he's not gonna have as big an edge there in terms of size and things like that. But when he fought Stephen Hill, I mean, his takedown defense looked good, and I thought he looked strong. So Shipman is going to be staying all the way out or all the way in. I think he's going to be moving around and then winning off blitzes on the feet. He isn't as good of a striker technically, but I feel he could be effective with the footwork. I think he's faster, and I think he has maybe slightly more power as well even. And I think he's going to be very willing to clinch up. He's always been durable, but he's going to have to figure out how to close the gap here because he can be a bit vulnerable closing that void, but outside of that, I'm edging this to the fighter in better form in Mike Shipman. Shipman has the better lateral footwork. I think he can move around and frustrate Silverio, shut down his takedowns, and be a little bit more active in the clinch. I like Shipman's cardio a little more too, and I'm not sure how Silverio will be in a hard fight at 185. He only fought it this way once, and he looked good, but it was an easy fight. And maybe Silverio will look good and be able to catch Shipman early or sleep him or grind him out over 3 rounds, but I just think Shipman will be slightly hungrier, more confident. I think that Silverio hasn't proven he can win a decision at a high clip yet. He's 1-4 in decisions. So if he can't stop Shipman, I think it's Shipman's fight to win. And I'm going to go with the underdog here at Mike Shipman at plus 205. And I think that he can get the victory in that matchup. But continue it along, we got Clay Collard versus Alfie Davis. And, you look at Clay Collard, he is probably one of, if not the biggest star in the history of PFL. He's been able to beat some legends in the promotion, and at one point he was 6-2, and he was in the tournament championships in 2023. But since losing to OAM in that championship match, he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights, and he's just been getting really bad draws, though. I mean, he's fought a lot of grapplers, which have always been his Achilles heel, and regardless, though, he hasn't looked the best. He is getting a striking fight for this fight, though, so it should be more up his alley, and I think he's going to be ready to prove himself. He's only 32 years old, so it's not like he's in the danger zone of having to, give up the gloves or anything like that. It's just he needs to get back on the winning ways. But Alfie Davis, he went undefeated in Bellator, but lost his first fight with the he went 8-1-1 in Bellator, but he lost his first fight with the PFL. Got submitted in the 3rd round against Mansour Barnari, and he was doing fairly decent in that fight, but just got hurt in the 3rd round and then finished. And you look at this fight, both these guys have kind of a contrast in style, but I like Collard here. I think his pressure, his long arms, his combinations are going to be effective. I see him being able to push the pace, and I think he's going to be the meaner guy. He won't have to worry about much of a wrestling threat, and when you look at Alfie Davis, he likes to keep the range and use his kicks and stay out the outside, stick and move, maybe land those check hooks or rear crosses, and then work spins, axe kicks, things like that. But he's just looking to touch and move for the most part, and unless he lands like a kick to the head, he's not going to really hurt anybody more than likely. And on top of that, I feel like he's a little bit vulnerable on the inside. We saw that in the Barnari fight. We've seen it in a couple other fights. And I think that Clay Collard can get his boxing going and really piece him up on the inside. Collard has nasty combinations. You'll go to the body. You'll go to the head. He's one of the better boxers in MMA today. And he's still high volume. He's still pressuring. He's still durable. And I just feel like he's going to get the major advantage on the feet. And I don't see much of a takedown threat from Davis. The only thing with Clay Collard I'll be worried about is maybe the front chokes. Like, be prepared for if you slip or Alfie kicks your front leg out and there's a scramble and he tries to snatch your neck, just that you could defend and get out of those type of positions, because that's really the only threat Alfie poses, I feel like, in terms of submissions. And outside of that, I think Clay Collard can do well on the feet. So Clay Collard is the pick for me in that matchup. And the next fight we got on the card, Mads Burnell versus J.J. Wilson. Intriguing matchup here. 2 grapplers, but they both can strike, and I could see this fight playing out on the feet primarily, especially if Mads Burnell fights smart. But J.J. Wilson, he's moved over to American Top Team. He's only 27, so I expect him to continue to look better. But on the feet, he's a little stiff. I mean, he has all right speed. You'll let go of some combinations. His kicks aren't bad, but he just doesn't feint or fake his way in, and it's pretty obvious when he's going to explode and try to close the distance. He's also very upright, so you can counter him. You can time takedowns and get under him and put him on his back. And Wilson is better when he can counter punch or counter forward movement with the level change, and he isn't as good going first, but he did look a little bit better in the pocket his last fight. He was facing a guy that I don't think was a very good striker, so it gave him a lot better opportunities to do that, but you could tell he's getting a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. But with Mads Burnell, I don't think he's going to want to do that. He has excellent grappling, so you don't want to put him on his back. Most guys, I mean, he's just really good at hitting sweeps. He's very active. He'll throw elbows. He'll throw up submissions. He won his last fight off his back primarily for portions of it, so his guard is tough to deal with, but he's also had a couple fights where he's been held down or he's made fights close that shouldn't have been close because he was attacking submissions off of his back. But when Wilson can get on top and he has decent judo takedowns, really nice back takes, and he is submission over position, but his submission level is really high. Good conditioning. For Mads Burnell, he recovered a little bit from a rough patch a couple years ago. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. And he's unique on the feet. He's short, compact. He wants to pressure in a boxing range. He uses the cover roll really effectively and kind of just makes fighters miss or hit his gloves, his arms. He stays in their face, and he's slowly draining your energy bar by making you miss, throwing hard calf kicks, countering with good hooks. And when fighters start to throw less volume, that's when you'll see him pick it up. And he's been notoriously difficult to hit or knock out. He got finished with strikes one time in 2015 against Arnold Allen. And he can be hit with knees and strikes up the middle, so the flying knees for Wilson could be there. But, you know, Burnell's had a couple other fights where he was hurt and then shot in and got choked. So that's a little bit what I'm more worried about in this matchup. You know, we saw the Michael Dufort fight where it seemed like he was winning fairly easily, and then he slipped, and when trying to regain his balance, he got caught and hurt and then got choked out in just a very strange fashion there. So he needs to just stay locked in, sharp, and be aware of the explosiveness that Wilson brings and the danger factor. But Burnell has good wrestling, good top control, good takedowns, really nice front chokes of his own. And I feel he should try to just keep it standing here if he can, and maybe time a takedown short with short time on the round if it's close on the feet. But I kind of see this being a war. I mean, I think both guys are going to be willing to be in the pocket. I think Burnell has a pretty big edge on the feet technically, but he's a veteran who's taking more damage, and he has to be aware that JJ could finish him at any point by just exploding on him and being aggressive and wild and catching him with something. So he just needs to stay sharp. And for Wilson, he has to be really high volume here in this fight. I think he needs to use his speed, his power to try to keep Burnell off of him. But I just don't see him being fluid enough to do it. And Burnell, I think, has the wrestling to dictate where this fight takes place. And if he shoots in another choke or gets clipped and submitted or hit with the flying knee or something, I mean, I think Wilson is a little bit finish or bust. But for Burnell, I mean, I think he can win via submission, via TKO, or via decision. So I think he has more paths to victory, and I think he's slightly more well-rounded, slightly better. So I'm going with Mads Burnell in that fight. I believe he is the slight underdog still there. And next fight that we're going to talk about, Dalton Rosta versus Sadabusi. For Dalton Rosta, I would say he's still a prospect, but the shines came off him a little bit. He was looking like he was on the fast track to the belt. He was 8-0. He lost a step-up fight to Aaron Jeffrey, though, and then had a lackluster win in his return fight last year. So he only fought once in 2024 and 2023, and neither of them he looked necessarily the best in. But he's still 29. He trains with ATT, elite wrestling background, so we'll see if that upside could show itself in this tournament. And Rosta, he's a grinder. His stand-up isn't terrible, but it's not great either. Rosta has solid movement. He has some power, but he doesn't set the strikes up very well. He's a little stiff, tends to throw one strike at a time. And when fighters get in a boxing range, he shoots and he wants to be all the way in or all the way out. But if you can stuff his takedowns and pressure him, he's a little bit vulnerable. His last fight, he was being a bit more confident, looking to pull Noveni into a straight right, but he never really landed it clean. And his wrestling for MMA is good, but not elite. He doesn't set the shots up that well. And if he can get you against the fence, normally he can work you until he can get you to the ground, though. And he's more of a lay and pray guy at this point. He'll just look to ride fighters out. His conditioning is good. He's a tough fighter with a lot of hunger. The issue he had in his one loss was inexperience. He couldn't stop Jeffrey from backing him up, so he started panic shooting with no setup and was just holding on to Jeffrey's leg when Jeffrey was completely sprawled out on him, kind of just hitting him with short shots. And he's still not a fighter who's had a lot of hard fights, so he hasn't had to make in-fight adjustments to win. And he has good coaches to help him do that, but that's something that he has to prove he could do in competition, because when he fought Aaron Jeffrey, he just wasn't able to do that. He slowed down his last fight. He got beat up in round 3 a little bit. He got tired in the Jeffrey fight, so conditioning needs to be something that he addresses as well. But Sad Abusi, he's a flag bearer for the PFL. He's one of the most experienced fighters in the promotion. This is actually going to be his 20th fight in the company, and he's a former champion. He's been kind of odd in his career in terms of where he's fought, because he fought at 185, at 205, at 170, so he's been in a lot of different weight classes in the PFL, but after a couple of seasons at 205, he's coming back down to 185 for this one. And I mean, to me, this kind of is final stand here, at least one of them, because he's 38 years old, and it seems like he's not necessarily as good as he used to be, but C's, like I said, fighting back the Walsh allegations. A win here would quiet a lot of that talk, and he's going to be the much longer fighter. I think he has to come with a stick and move game plan he implemented plenty of times in the past. He has an 80-inch reach. He's good at making fights slow, pace kickboxing matches, and he picks up fighters with leg kicks, front kicks. He'll even throw some high kicks, jabs. His distance control is good. His takedown defense is good, and he'll try to intercept you with knees and things like that. His last fight, he landed an uppercut knockout when Andrew Sanchez shot in on him. And he's been able to stop takedowns of bigger wrestlers than Rasta, so I feel he could keep it standing for the most part, but he's going to have to figure out how to get his back off the fence. And I do think now that he's a little older, he's not quite as quick, sharp, or active, and he's not as good as getting his back off the cage. But I think this fight very likely goes to decision. It likely is close. I just think Rasta will be able to probably be on the front foot, cage push, land a little bit harder punches, and I expect him to be improved and a little hungrier than a guy like Sad Abusi at this point in their career. So for me, Dalton Rasta is the prediction in that fight. And continuing along, we got Godzi Rabadanov taking on Mark Jacasey in the co-main event here. And Godzi, I would say he's the favorite to win this tournament. 24-4, he's on a 10-fight winning streak. 9-0 since moving to Bellator in 2021. He went 5-0 in Bellator and then 4-0 in the PFL after they acquired Bellator. He won the $1 million in the 2024 tournament, so now this is Act 2 for Rabadanov. And Mark Jacasey, he's a fighter who was in the UFC for over 7 years, but couldn't really get to the top of the heap in that promotion. He won some, he lost some, and then the UFC finally decided to part ways with him in November of 2023. He found a home in Bellator in 2024. He fought on the Bellator Champion Series card last November, won a decision over Tim Wilde, who's a solid fighter, and now he's made it 2 wins in a row. And Mark Jacasey, he was very competitive with Joel Alvarez. In their fight, he actually won the first round. He was looking good in the second, and then got headbutted where it seemed like it compromised his eye and quickly finished after, so it was a little unfortunate for him. But he, in this fight, is facing the hardest guy in the tournament, and he has a chance to take him out right away. So if Jacasey wins this fight, I think he becomes the favorite. But Mark Jacasey, I mean, he used to be a pompous, overconfident striker, but now he's more of a well-rounded veteran. I would say he's a lot better than he used to be. He isn't as aggressive on the feet anymore. He'll use his natural athleticism to move around, switch stance, be evasive, throw some kick, straight punches out there. But mainly, he just wants to get fighters to chase, and then he wrestles, and he's been able to wrestle guys up in a lot of his recent victories. His control isn't good, or his control is good, but he isn't someone who will look for submissions or really ground and pound you to a finish, but good conditioning. He's really strong, and he's turned into a point fighter. I mean, he uses his movement as dangerous weapons like his knees, his spins to mute his opponent's offense, and when they try to be aggressive, he takes them down. And he's had issues when fights get hard. He can't get takedowns. Pressuring him and stuffing his shots is how to beat him historically, and he struggled versus southpaws. But Gadzi Urbanov, explosive, powerful wrestler. He's athletic and moves well on the feet. I mean, he's patient. He likes to keep his guard high. They counter with big crosses, overhands, check hooks. He'll throw some 1-2s, 1-1-2s, and he closes distance pretty quickly. He also has really good defense. He can kind of just grind people to a hold on the mat. Fast back takes, and we saw him shut down the scrambling ability of J.J. Wilson, which is not an easy task. And he likes to use his movement and power to slow the pace down on the feet and then uses wrestling to win fights definitively. He's going to have to figure out how to close the distance of this fight because Jacasey is going to be fast, patient. He does have dangerous weapons on the outside. And for Jacasey, he's going to, in my opinion, try to use his straight punches, kicks up the middle, his leg kicks, move around and win in a low-volume battle, uses wrestling that he's learned offensively to keep it standing. And Urbanov has to be more aggressive here. If he can spook Jacasey with his power, I think he's going to win. And I also think he has to try to pressure to force Jacasey to either shoot on him or get wild with the striking and then take him down and put him on his back. And Urbanov has the experience to fight to a game plan, and he should have a smart strategy here. I could see this fight being boring if there's no finish. I think there'll be a lot of waiting. Both of these guys on the feet, I think, are going to stare at each other a lot. But Urbanov is going to have to be more aggressive and pick up the pace, and I think he knows that. That gives Jacasey the chance to land big, but if Jacasey can't find that shot, he's probably just going to end up getting outworked to take it down. And I don't think Jacasey is the threat of the takedown himself here. I know he's a good wrestler, but I just don't see him getting down Urbanov. And Jacasey is hard to finish. He'll go to defensive shell and lose a decision rather than work hard to try to win and get stopped as well. So Urbanov by decision is the prediction here, but I could see it being fairly close, and I think this line is extremely wide in my opinion. So I don't think Jacasey is like a crazy live underdog because I do think Urbanov is going to get the victory, but I would line Jacasey at like plus 250 to 300, and you could get him at plus 700. So I just think that line is pretty insane. But main event time, we got Impa Kasanganay taking on Fabian Edwards in the main event. And Impa has established himself as one of the best fighters in the PFL. He signed with them in 2023. He's 8-2 in 10 fights. He went 5-0 his first season. He won the $1 million. He then fought Johnny Eblen in the PFL vs. Bellator Championship fight card. And it was close. I mean, some people thought he won, but he lost via split decision. And he was able to win 3 more in a row after that before losing again last November in his second tournament championship bout. This time, he got knocked out in 58 seconds, so much worse showing than the first time when he became $1 million richer. And that's going to give him some hunger coming in here off that loss. And Fabian Edwards, he also is trying to get back on track. He has performed well in recent years, but he's came up short twice to Johnny Eblen in title fights. And his last fight, he dropped a 5-round decision, so he's trying to bounce back from that. And he hasn't lost to someone not named Johnny Eblen in 4 years, so he has been doing well, but this would be probably his most impressive victory of his career. And when you look at both these guys, Impa Kasanganay, he's a pressure fighter. He's big and strong, especially for 185. Good job of keeping his guard high. He doesn't have the greatest head movement, but it's okay, and he'll slip and rip with some combinations. He likes to go to the body and then come over the top with the overhand or the left hook, which is really nice. And clean 1-2s, clean 3-2s, decent kicks, knees. His volume could be better because he tends to wait a lot, but he's a little flat-footed and comes forward and backward in straight lines, but it's difficult to back him up, and if you can't KO him, he's going to stay in your face, so that's what makes him a tough guy to deal with. His last fight, he got clipped early and knocked out, so hopefully there's no remnants of that here, but we've seen Impa come back strong from knockout losses before. And he's not a wrestler, but he's gotten good at defending takedowns, and he's gotten good with his clinch work. He's gotten to the point where if fighters shoot on him or put him on the cage, he will reverse them, and he can take them down. He's strong. His conditioning is serviceable. he will tire at a hard wrestling pace. I felt like he got tired versus Johnny Eblen, which is the last time he had to cut down to 185, and I believe the only time he's cut to 185 in the PFL. But Fabian Edwards is not someone who's looking to push the pace, and I don't see him getting tired versus Fabian. But Fabian, long southpaw striker. He's very similar to Leon, where he throws a lot of single strikes. He's looking to snipe you. He'll throw straights, uppercuts, good knees up the middle, some kicks. He has the same problem as Leon, though, with the lack of lateral movement. He gets back up to the fence and clinched up, and he almost uses that to try to rest to make fighters work to take him down and try to do damage with knees, elbows. And he's also gotten to the stage where he's serviceable enough to hit clinch wrestling takedowns, but he's not really going to be relentless trying to get fighters to the ground. And I mean, maybe he could surprise Impa with one takedown, but he's not going to hold him down. It's not really going to be a big thing. It would just be kind of a change of position. But he's had issues being pushed against the fence, and although he's good at landing nice elbows or short shots as fighters close the distance or when he gets a little bit of space inside, he could be controlled or have fights play out very close because he's let guys dictate where the fight is. And I think Impa's game plan will be clear here. He's going to try to press Edwards, get him up against the cage, push him against the fence, land off the brakes, then reclinch, and just kind of try to maul him and take that space away. Fabian has to stay safe when he's against the fence and try to mitigate damage. I think Edwards, he's going to try to pull Impa into big punches. If he can connect, maybe he can knock Impa out, and we've seen that happen in the past. It's possible Edwards win a decision off big moments, but minutes-wise, Impa, I think, is going to be able to control the fight. But Edwards and Impa both have kind of suspect durability, so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant on betting the over. I mean, I don't know, man. Cardio-wise, I think both these guys have decent cardio. And this is a really competitive fight. I feel like it could go back and forth. I see a ton of clinching here. At distance, I think Fabian is way better. I think you'll be able to catch Impa coming in, and when they're at range, Edwards is going to be really lighting him up. But Impa should be the stronger, more physical guy, and he needs to really show he's coming in to clinch and grab early, put Edwards on that fence, put the strength on him. And once Edwards has that in his head, then maybe he could try to come over the top with some punches and things like that. But I don't know. I think Edwards can compete slightly better in the clinch and wrestling, grappling, than Impa is able to compete at distance on the feet. And I feel like this is a similar fight to Aaron Jeffrey versus Fabian. I'm going to say Fabian by decision, but for the main event, that's a difficult fight. I feel like it's an even money line, close money line for a reason, but I do feel like I'm going to go with Fabian Edwards as the slight underdog in that matchup. So there you have it, guys. It's the full card breakdown and prediction video for PFL. And hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As far as a play of the week this week, for the parlay of the week, I'm going to do a parlay of Brent Primus and Clay Collard. And my most confident pick on this fight card is Brent Primus. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back next week breaking down a UFC card. Like I said at the top of this video, let's try to get 10 likes on this video minimum. Let's try to get more than that. Hit the like button. Let's try to get 100 likes. That'd be amazing. And as well as that, go to patreon.com/everypictureguru. Get access to the 4 bets that I do have for this card. Let's make some money. Help support the channel. Then you'll get access to LFA breakdowns, the LFA bets that I do have, and then all the other content that I have, as well as early previews for the UFC. So thanks for watching, guys. Go check out Patreon. Hit the like button, comment down below, and I'll talk to you guys soon.